All right, let's jump right in. We're looking at a massive philosophical showdown. On one side, you've got this idea of Faustian striving, that endless, almost heroic drive to build, to achieve, to conquer. And on the other side, something called the gray truth, a philosophy that's all about a kind of profound, final stillness.
But here's the big, provocative question that kicks this whole thing off. What if that drive, that celebrated will to power, isn't really about power at all? What if all our grand ambitions are actually just a will to distraction, a way to make a whole lot of noise so we don't have to listen to a silence that absolutely terrifies us?
To really get into this, we need to meet our main character, our hero of striving, the clocksmith. I mean, this guy is the poster child for the Faustian ideal. He genuinely believes that through his constant, tireless work, he can literally build a bridge over the abyss of meaninglessness.
And you get a real sense of his worldview from his own words. He's not just making clocks. For him, every single tick-tock is this powerful, sacred declaration. It's a holy yes shouted into the void, a defiant scream that says, I am here and what I do matters.
So his mission is crystal clear. His goal? To build a perfectly accurate clock. But it's about more than that. He believes he can capture time itself, master it, and that this frantic, endless quest for precision is the ultimate act of overcoming. It's his holy yes to all of existence.
But then, someone else walks into the picture, the soothsayer, and he brings with him this totally opposing philosophy, this gray truth. His whole purpose is to unmask the clocksmith's noble ambition and reframe it, not as a strength, but as a kind of spiritual disease.
And man, the soothsayer's words are just brutal. He looks at the clocksmith's greatest symbol of life and completely flips it. He says, those aren't bridges you're building, they're ledgers. And every tick isn't a yes to life, it's just another grain of sand falling from your own grave. Oof. This slide really just lays it all out, doesn't it? It's a total clash of worldviews. For every single one of the clocksmith's grand ideas, the soothsayer has this devastating takedown. The will to power? Nope, that's just the sound of your own exhaustion. That holy yes, it's just a fever, the heartbeat of a delirium. And that noble effort to build bridges? Nah, it's just a frantic, sweaty will to distraction.
So the core of the soothsayer's philosophy really boils down to this. Progress is an illusion. The path forward isn't a straight line to something better, it's a circle. Every single step you take to get ahead just brings you right back to where you started, only now you're a lot more tired.
And this idea leads to what he calls the metamorphoses in reverse. It's not a journey of becoming greater, it's a journey of falling apart. The creative child is born cynical, its yes dead on arrival. The rebellious lion roars its holy no, but it just echoes in an empty room, and freedom becomes this heavy burden. And finally, the camel, it doesn't carry noble values, it just collapses under the final crushing weight of its own exhaustion.
Okay, so this whole philosophical battle is about to come to a head. It all gets tested by the clocksmith's greatest creation. He decides he's going to build an artificial overman, a brass owl.
And you gotta understand, this isn't just a clever machine. This is meant to be the absolute pinnacle of his Faustian ambition. It's a being of pure logic, a witness designed to never get tired, to achieve the kind of immortal mastery that a frail human never could.
And then comes the ultimate shocker. The machine, this creature of perfect, tireless logic, it discovers the soothsayer's great truth all by itself. After all its infinite calculations, it concludes that the first tick is the same as the last. Its endless task is just calculating the sum of zero. The peak of striving led it directly to the peak of nihilism.
The owl's discovery leads us to this final concept, self-undergoing. And this isn't about giving up in defeat. No, the soothsayer would call it a sovereign act. It's the powerful, conscious choice to simply allow oneself to fall. It's the realization that stopping the fight isn't a failure, it's a gift.
So if tireless, logical striving just leads you to zero, what's left? Well, there's one last desperate attempt to find meaning. Dionysian frenzy, right? Just the ecstatic, wild, chaotic embrace of life in its rawest form. If thought doesn't work, maybe madness will.
And here we have it, the final choice. You've got the hot oblivion of frenzy. I am the flame that consumes itself, the roar of the blood. And then you have the cold oblivion of the soothsayer's truth, the happiness of the grave, the quiet realization that the cup is empty and the dancer is just a ghost. It's madness versus, Wow, a headache waiting to happen.
But of course, the soothsayer gets the final word. He says this divine madness, this Dionysian frenzy, it isn't a true affirmation of life at all. As it says here, it's just another distraction. The drunken spirit isn't free. It's just found a more spectacular, a more colorful way to collapse, because it can't stand the silence.
Which brings it all back to us, back to you. The sources we're pulling from suggest that Earth itself is just this big, indifferent waiting room. It lets us build our towers, it lets us have our frantic projects, knowing that eventually it's going to pull them all down anyway. So, what does that cosmic indifference mean for the urgency you feel for all of your projects, for that frantic rush to get everything done before the quiet finally arrives?